Hello everyone, it's Dragana from Saacibo. Welcome and welcome back to my channel. In my last video, where I've shown you different techniques on dyeing printables or papers that were printed on one side, one of the techniques that I've shown you was how to do bubble design with dishwashing liquid. As you all know, if you have seen the video, my attempt was not very successful. I have to say, it was a little bit disastrous. Here it is, my sad attempt at doing bubble design on this paper. So I thought I'll do a video just on bubbles. If you're having bubble trouble like me, then maybe you should just stay tuned and watch, because I will show you the technique that I practiced a little bit, and I must say it worked really well for me. I'll show you just a few examples of what I've done only yesterday. After one day of practicing, I came up with some really nice papers and I'm very happy with the results. So I just want to share that with you. I was very cautious. I started with junk mail envelopes and in 3 different colors. Then I've done some papers. Okay, I love this one. That's what it looks on that side. That one as well. I had a blast. Oh, this is a printable. Yeah, this was printed on thicker paper, so I decided to do that on the back, and it worked really well. There it is. You can really see the bubbles well. Again, in 2 different colors, this one. Here we have 3 or 4 different colors. That was a printable that, again, I applied bubbles on this side as well. And so on and so forth. This one as well. It worked really, really well. And I started by practicing just with coffee. But in the end, I realized that if you want really nice results, you're much better using just inks. When I say inks, I mean water-soluble inks, not alcohol inks. This is not exercise with alcohol inks, only water-soluble inks like acrylic inks or drawing inks. That works best because they're very highly pigmented, and when you apply the bubbles or the dishwashing liquid, it works really well. You know, oh, I love this one. And that one with a bit of a black. And that's just with coffee. You know, it's unless you make a really strong coffee, just using coffee, this time it didn't really work for me. I haven't tried using rust, perhaps that would work better, but I ended up practicing a lot with just inks and I loved it. I tried some on black paper. This is black paper and I used white and a light blue ink and it worked really nice. And there's this one. Okay, so now I want to share with you how I achieved that look. And while we are doing it, we might as well try it on different papers, because not every paper will take ink or coffee or dye or any sort of color the same way. Sometimes you'll have nice crisp edges, sometimes you'll have fuzzy edges. So for each example that I do, I'll use a different paper. And then at the end, we can see what paper worked the best, what gave us satisfactory results, and the paper that was not really worth trying. I want to try like some watercolor papers, sketchbook papers, you know, notebooks, more envelopes. I have also some different thicknesses of papers. I have tracing paper, what else? Cardstock, you know, deli paper, Hebrew paper, marbling paper. So we'll try and make a few different ones using different papers so that you can see the difference. Apart from the papers, I'm going to be using, like I said, dishwashing liquid, water, just plain tap water, and these inks. Now with inks, as I said at the beginning, I'm not going to use alcohol-based inks. These are all water-based inks, okay? Water-soluble inks. So these are the spray inks that I have, okay? So you can use any brand as long as it's a spray ink and there's no alcohol in it, okay? Then this is just the black ink, you know, the drawing ink or the writing ink that you dip your pen in to write. So that's black. And I have that in white as well. Okay. Then I have these inks. Okay. These are also like drawing inks. That's the name, drawing inks. You use this type of pen to dip your pen inside and to draw. So they're also water-based inks. And I have these colors. Just, you know, red, blue, green, brown, and yellow. And these are also drawing inks. Okay. That you use for your pen to dip in and write. So I'm going to be using these types of inks. If you don't have many different ones, it doesn't really matter. You can perhaps you have just black, and that is fine. Black will give you really striking results. Or if you have some of the spray inks, that's fine too. You just do this, open it up, and you put some in. It's the same thing. It's just that it comes in a bottle in a spray bottle, and I've already made a mess. And again, just like in the last video, I have a cloth ready, you know, white cloth, cotton, whatever, something to wipe off the mess that you make as you go along. And by the end of the day, you might have a nice piece of fabric for your journal covers. All right, so apart from that, I won't be needing this. Have the gloves on, otherwise you'll have to bleach your hands like I done last time. I had so much ink on my fingers, it just wasn't possible to wash any other way. I had to bleach them. And you will also need something to mix ink, water, and the washing liquid inside. Something that's probably that much deep. You can get away with smaller, but it's going to make more mess. All right, and probably the size of your palm at least. So I'm using this one. You can use things like these plastic ones, or even glass jars that are a bit wider here. You know, I wouldn't use something like this. It would be really difficult to work with, but you need bigger surface. You know, it can be even a little bowl. Okay, and if you're going to mix few colors, then you'll need a few of these, because, you know, you will maybe mix red, you'll mix blue, you'll mix green or brown, and you want to keep them separate. Okay, and for each container you will need a straw, and you will need something like this, something flat, and I like to use these. I've realized it's really the best. If not, just put the gloves on and use your hands. I'll show you that as well. I'll put the gloves on first. Let's just start with the most common paper used in junk journaling. It is just plain copy paper, ATGSM. Okay, I'll start with that one. And I also have a few different thicknesses. This is all digital paper. I have 80, 120, 160, 200, 350, and I had 100 as well. There's 100. So we'll start with these. We'll see how many we can do in 1 hour. I don't want this video to last forever, but I just want to start with that one because this is the most often used paper in the junk journaling community, I think, at least, because of low cost. Okay, so this is how I normally start. I put the color that I want to use. Now, since I'm not going to use coffee and I want to have that brown color, I'm going to use just this brown, and maybe I will add a little bit of yellow. I'll see. I'll try to mix a nice color. Okay, this is what these look like. Okay, very pigmented. Okay, as you can see. Okay, I might add a touch of yellow. And perhaps even a little bit of red. Okay, just want to get that nice brown that is similar to coffee. Well, it doesn't have to be like coffee, but yeah, it does. It looks alright, I guess. And then I'm going to add a little bit of water. Yeah, just like that. You can add more water or you can add less water. It's really all right. You know, how much water you add, it's going to, you know, affect if you have lighter or darker color here. Okay, so now that we have that, I'm going to add dishwashing liquid. I'll be putting 1 tablespoon. 1 tablespoon. All right. Okay, get a straw. I'm going to mix this. I'm still not 100% on this color. I might add a little bit of green. Just a touch. It's not really like coffee, but hey, that's all right. Let's try. So I'm just going to blow now. And I actually like to do this inside of this tray because I just know it's going to be mess. Okay, I'll do it here. I try to make it like this, and then you take that thing and you just move it around the paper. When I showed you the first time, I used my straw to move this, and that wasn't a good idea because there was a lot of ink inside of the straw and it made really big splotches that, you know, resulted in no bubbles at all. Okay, so you need to make the bubbles separately and then take the foam, whatever, onto the paper, either with a wooden spatula like this or with your hand, but wear the gloves. All right. And don't rush. I'll say count to 3 before you take it off. Otherwise it's too much. And then you can just do this. Just move it around. Don't let it stand too long in one spot. Okay, I won't go any more on this one because this is a thin paper. It already soaked quite a bit, so I'm done with the brown. I'll let it aside and wait a little bit for it to dry, and then maybe I'll add a different color. 100 GSM paper. This is a nice paper for digital printing, thicker than the last one and really smooth and white. Okay, another way of doing it is just taking it in your hand like this and then just moving it. Okay. One, two, three, and then you just keep moving it. And then pop the bubbles. I can already tell that on this paper there's a bit more definition because it's thicker. All right, now 120. Oops. Let's do that again. Okay, let's do it again with our hands. Yeah, you see, a thicker and better paper gives better results for sure. Okay. Then you can do this. If you leave them for too long, and take them and scoop them out immediately after you make them, you'll end up with a lot of dark color like I did in that other video, and there'll be no real definition of bubbles. Now, what do we have here? 160 GSM. We'll do them all in brown for now. That's a lot. Okay. Okay, I'll probably, I don't know, maybe a little bit more here. You see how when you take this foam and place it like that, maybe count to 3 and then take it off. As long as it doesn't stay on for too long. 200 GSM. Okay. If you're wondering what type of digital paper I use, this is Fabriano. That's what it's available here. So I'm not sure in areas where you live what sort of paper you've got, but I encourage you to experiment. Okay. Let's do a few more. So addictive. Okay. Now, this is cardstock 350 GSM. Okay. As you can see, there's quite a lot of ink, so that's why when I've done it in that other video, I was doing it over the paper with the straw and pushing it onto the paper immediately, and then it ended up too much coffee or too much ink on the paper, and that's, you know, once you saturate the paper with too much, you can't really see the bubbles. So that's why it's important to actually do that separate. Now this is, if you wait for too long, this is what happens. It's another thing is, so you have to really practice and, you know, get the feel for it. See how much ink there is. So I would say I just count 1, 2, 3, and then I take it. I let it kind of drain a little bit, and then you get nice design. Even with the small ones, 1, 2, 3, and then you wipe it. 1, 2, 3. Then it works all right. It works really well with inks, I think. And you can actually see it. It works with coffee as well, but it's hard to, when you're doing a video, it's actually hard to see, hard to show it properly. This is tracing paper, 62 GSM. I should have cut one piece of vellum as well to show you, but yeah, I forgot. But then you can experiment and tell me if that worked on vellum as well. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, and then let's take it here. Now this paper is really thin and it's a little bit shiny, so it doesn't really work like the rest of them. You know, it's not going to do well if I pop the bubbles now, so I'm thinking I'll just leave them like that. I won't pop them, and hopefully they will give me a nice design. You see how different papers work differently, and because here it's really fuzzy, but here it's kind of intense as long as I don't touch it. All right, 1, 2, 3. Let's do the same here. I won't touch it. You know, I'll just leave it like that. spread a little bit. Okay, I'll leave it like this with the bubbles on. I'll just put it here. Yeah, different papers. Now this is sketchbook paper. It comes in a big sketch. It's also Fabriano. It's 90 GSM. It's for pencil drawing, I think. I think I can put that one aside now. And it is a little bit yellow. That's just the way it is. It's the color. So I'm going to try this one now. One, two, three. Let's just see. See, it is giving a slightly different result. It's a little bit fuzzy, okay, which tells me that it really soaks the ink quickly. Okay, so I probably wouldn't use it again for this. I find that the papers that have smooth surface so far worked really well. Okay. That's okay. Small bubbles. I have to leave it enough just so that the ink can absorb enough in there, but don't put too much like I put here. Okay, now should we change the color? Maybe just make a different color now, just for you know, for the fun of it. Okay, wipe this a little bit. Okay, let's make some nice blue color, blue green. Got this and this one. Is it the same? Let's see. This is blue. I'm not sure if they're the same blue. I'll try. No, similar, but they're not the same. And then I will put some of the green. And the water. Okay. Washing detergent. I'll get another straw, mix that. Ooh, it's really blue. Loving it. If your colors are too intense, you can always add a different color to kind of soften it a little bit. Like in this one, I'll probably just add a touch of brown. Just drop, yeah. Because I don't like them to be like that, fluorescent. You know, but that's all personal preference. You make the colors the way you want them. Okay. Okay, let's move on. Now, what do we have here? This is acid-free 150 GSM sketchbook, I suppose. Yeah, it's still a bit too blue. That's all right. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Let's use our hands again. That's fun. It is fun if you use your hands. This paper is also very absorbent. I can tell you that. 2, 3. Right. If they're very absorbent, they just, you know, they don't really work so well with this. You see, it's very absorbent. Let's try once more. Have to work fast with this one. So yeah, when you do this at home, if you're having trouble and you think you're doing everything right, perhaps it's just the paper, okay? Now what do we have here? Okay, this is a really good watercolor paper, 280 GSM English cotton. And I'm very curious to see how is this going to look, because I haven't tried. Pulled out all the papers that I had. Okay. Again, it didn't really work as I expected. Very super absorbent. Okay. Try with my hand. And I'm going to leave the bubbles on a little bit longer. Okay. Leave a bit longer, and now I'm going to wipe. All right. Yeah. I will leave it at that. So we have some nice definition, but the first attempt was terrible. You can always add a different color on top of that blue there. Again, sketch block. Okay, this paper came in a block, 200 GSM. It's not that precious, and it's kind of smooth, so let's see how is this going to react. Nice, it's not bad. Don't have that drip there. What do we have here? This is a cheap watercolor paper, you know, student grade. To me it looks that it's very absorbent, so we'll see. It might work well. It looks like it's a little bit pink compared to the other papers. Okay. We'll see what it looks like once it dries. Okay, what do we have here? Again, 200 GSM watercolor paper, but it seems to be a little bit better quality than the previous one. I leave it a bit too long. Get some nice. Look at that. So this one seems to work really well. Just leave it, count 3, and then you do that. 1, 2, 3. This one worked well. How many more? This is just 110 GSM sketchbook paper from Sketchpad. Okay. Oh, I'd say this one worked the best so far. Or it worked really well. I think it worked really well. Okay, deli paper. This is thin. I don't know how many GSM, but this is deli paper or butcher's paper. I like to use this paper when I'm doing jelly printing, to clean up the jelly plate or just to print on it. It's really thin. It's kind of almost, you know, like wax paper in some sense. It's kind of, you know, really dense, and I don't know if this is going to work. I haven't tried, but let's try now. Okay, now big bubbles worked alright with the small ones, but I should have left them a little bit longer. 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, 3, and then yeah. 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, not bad, I'd say. We'll see what it looks like once it dries. Although here I probably, oops, look what I've done. I tore the paper. Oh my gosh, never mind. I'll just leave it like that. I wanted to straighten it, and yeah, it's obviously very thin. Okay, what else do we have here? Okay, let's try sketchbook. It's another sketchbook paper, 135. We haven't had that one, and then we'll switch to a different color maybe. 2, 3. I love it. Move it. Very nice. I think this one's working really well. Let's make another color. I made a mess here, but I'm going to leave it like that. So now perhaps we can make like an orangey color. I haven't made any papers like that. I made with pink and purple, but none with orange. And I don't have orange, but I have yellow and I have red. Okay, let's see. Probably a bit more yellow. Okay, quite intense. A teaspoon of dishwashing liquid. And I'll probably use a different spatula, a clean one. This is very bright. Again, I just want to mute it down a little bit. I'm going to add a touch of brown. What can I say? I like muddy colors. Alright. This is drawing paper. I've been using this one a lot when I'm eco printing in 165 GSM. So it's alright. Let's just take them down and then move. Almost looks like rust. I love it. Orange. 2, 3, and then you wipe. Okay. I think it works really well on this paper. I should get more of it actually. Alright, and we only have 2 more left in white, and then we'll do some envelopes perhaps and some other. This is the paper that I bought for Ebru. Ebru technique is something like marbling paper. It's like Turkish style marbling paper. Okay, and I haven't used this paper before. For marbling, I just used whatever other paper I had. I have bought this one and I wanted to try, but I never did. So I thought I'll give it a go for this, you know. I want to see if it works well with inks. Cool. Okay. It's kind of really shiny, so I don't know, maybe I should leave it a little bit longer than I leave with the other ones. Okay, so that's that one. And this is the paper that I got when last year my brother sent me this beautiful birthday gift, which was a kit for marbling paper, and in that kit there was this paper, 120 GSM marbling paper, just for marbling technique. Okay, so I haven't used it because I felt like I needed more practice on just plain paper before I used the nice one, but I'm going to use it now. Let's see. It does look a little bit like watercolor paper. It's got that. Oh, it looks good on that one. It's a good paper. Looks good. One more thing, you don't have to wait for this to dry and then try a different color. You can do a different color straight away. Let's just do one like that. See? And then the colors might even mix a little bit. All depends what you'd like to achieve. Now I want to do these envelopes, and I'm going to do it Barbara's way. You know, I'm going to bring the paper to the bubbles. Okay, so hope I'm doing it right. Yeah, I don't know. It didn't really work. She does it so much better. So perhaps this is not something for me, but yeah. Perhaps this also has something to do with what type of dishwashing liquid you're using. It's quite possible. So that is the envelope. All right, so the rest of the envelopes are basically the same. So they're usually 80 or 90 GSM printed paper, sometimes sticker. But depending on what envelopes you have, I encourage you to just test and experiment, and then you'll know for sure. What do we have here? We have some of these. Let's do this one. It's music paper. So with these papers, the lined papers, I just want to mention sometimes it works well, and other times the lines might start to just disappear, wash away. It happened to me when I was dyeing paper with coffee once, that I had this lined paper that I put in the coffee, and then when I took it out, all the lines disappeared. Basically, the ink that was used to print was not, stable. Okay, but this one seems to be all right, so it worked well. And experiment with different colors. So addictive. Right. I won't go through all of these because it might get boring, but I want to try just with white ink on the black paper, because we haven't tried that. So for this to work, no matter how much of these inks you put on, it's not going to become obvious. Black will soak it all up and you won't see the color. So if you want this to work, you have to add white to any of these colors, or just use white. So we're just going to use white today. Okay. Has to be pastel colors with lots of white. Right. Yeah, so this is calligraphy ink, which is like drawing ink. And water. I won't use too much water, maybe a bit less than in the other ones, because I want that white to be kind of intense. The only thing that would really cover the black well is gesso or titanium white, so that's why we want to have a bit thicker white. Okay. I use a clean one. Oh no, it did not work. Okay, hang on. So don't wait too long. Have to take it while there's still some ink in the bubbles. And I would just leave it. Mixing it. We can see a little bit of light, but really not much definition. So this ink, I don't know if it's working. It's not really. Yeah, they're showing, they're popping, but maybe if I do this. Yeah. So I guess it was alright. Let's make more. I like it so far. But I might leave some like this to see if that is going to become more pronounced. And this is black paper that is 80 GSM. Okay, I'll leave the bubbles like that. So it did work, but not as intense as I was hoping. Okay, this black paper is a bit thicker. I think this one is 100 GSM. Let's try this one with the white again. They seem to be popping too quickly. Perhaps this ink is not good. Oh yeah, it's alright, I guess. Look. So again, it's the paper. So the other paper was too thin. This one's a bit better for this. So it is working. Very nice. Love it here. Let's make more fresh bubbles. You just watch them, and if you can tell that they've soaked enough into the paper, you can just wipe off. Like here, look at those tiny ones. Yeah, that's really nice. That too, and that. Okay, so I guess we just have to wait a little bit longer than we waited, for example, with the brown on white. Yeah, everything matters, you know. The color, the paper, the way you place the bubbles, how long you keep them before you take them off, how long you wait once you make them, how long you wait before you transfer them to the paper. Everything matters, so just practice, I guess. Practice and keep trying, and then you'll get the feel for it. There you go. That's perfect. Oh, that's perfect too. Look at that. Oh, yeah. And then if you keep doing this with the white on top of the black, and then later on you add like a light wash of lighter color, bit of orange, bit of blue, bit of green, whatever, I think that would look really nice. So yeah, you can do on black paper as well with white ink. I love this one. I just want to show you on one example at least how you can mix more colors, more than one. Now I'm going to add a little bit of orange here. All right. See? Around the edges. So that's that other part of this where you get to actually design the papers and you have them overlapping, and it's like a little picture. Okay. Oh, look at that. I left it a little bit longer because I wanted it a deeper color, but I really like those small bubbles as well when they make those little. That's nice. And maybe here. Yeah. Okay. Now let's try the blue. And then you know, you can experiment with this, have them half one color, half the other, or have a strip through here, or, you know, design the papers for your journals the way you want them. I think this one looks really cool. I have some of this nice purple color from yesterday. I just want to see if it's still alright. Beautiful. Let's add some of that. It's a little bit hard because I don't have enough room. As you can see, you can go on and on with different colors, and it's amazing what you can achieve. I also have some black prepared as well. I just want to show you that. Barbara's method. Nice. Beautiful. I love it. Look at that. So the stronger the pigment, the better result, I'd say. With darker colors, you can see the design really well. Just keep moving it. Whoa. That's really intense now, isn't it? But beautiful bubbles. So I'm happy to say I don't have any bubble trouble anymore. I think I'm doing okay now. Okay, so I think I've shown you enough. You basically just keep going, mixing the colors, doing the second, the third, the fourth, whatever layer you want, until you get the result that you want. Just keep in mind, when you make the bubbles, keep the paper away. Count to 3 and then take the foam onto the paper. You can do it the other way around, where you bring the paper to the bubbles. That's fine too. It's going to be a little bit more difficult if you're working on a larger area, but say for envelopes that's quite easy because they're smaller. You can do that. That's what I would recommend. But if you want to do the whole paper, it might be a little bit more difficult to keep doing that. In that case, either use the spatula, put the gloves on. You can even scoop the foam with your hands and then spread around the paper the way you like it. So that is it. So I'm going to clean up this mess. I'm going to let the papers dry. I might even play a little bit more with them and add a few different colors, and then I'll show you what they look like. All right, I've cleaned up. The papers are dry. I will have to put them underneath a heavy book or something to flatten them a little bit. They're a bit wrinkly, but I absolutely love them. So I don't know if I have them in the exact order, but we'll just go through them quickly. And this is copy paper. This is the first one we've done, and then we've done this one in 3 colors, in brown and orange and this pink, and I really like it, and it looks good on this side as well. Okay, so ordinary copy paper works just fine. Then the next few we've done on the paper that's used for printing on inkjet and laser printers, and I think it worked really well because the paper is kind of smooth and it's not as absorbent as perhaps some of the watercolor papers. So we had nice definition. So for the inks, it worked really well in my opinion when you use them on just these printer papers. That's the 350 GSM. That's 200 GSM. It's 160. I really like this one in 3 colors. And 120 as well, worked out really nice. And this one 100 GSM. So overall, papers used for inkjet and laser printers work just fine. Okay, now this is a tracing paper. This one also worked all right. Slightly different result. I really like how ink turned out in some areas. Now this was also a very good in the end. Now we had black paper that's 80 GSM and this one that is a little bit thicker, and as you can see it worked on both of them, but it worked a little bit better on this one. Alright, so it's just a matter of experimenting. Then here we had that accident. Deli paper, I don't know, not really suitable for creating bubbles, and plus it tears easily. All right, watercolors. This is the cheap watercolor paper, really, you know, school grade. And yeah, I don't know. I suppose if I add a few more colors, it might end up being a nice print, but I wouldn't really use it again for this technique. This watercolor paper worked all right. So this is 200 GSM. So it definitely works better on smooth papers. Now here we have a really good quality watercolor paper, and yeah, it looks nice. It looks nice, but this is, you know, probably better to just use for watercolors. Then we tried on some drawing papers like sketchbooks and things, and it also worked really well. Like on this one, this is 90 GSM, was yellowish, but it worked all right, so it's doable. Sketchbook paper, even sketchbooks are just okay. This is 200 GSM and it worked really well. And here we have what, 1, 2, 3, 4 different layers, and it barely has anything on the back, so I think it worked really well on the sketchbook paper of this thickness. This is another sketchbook paper. This is 110 GSM, so it's a thin one, and I'm surprised how good it turned out, almost like watercolor. I'm actually very happy with this one, and this paper is very smooth, and I like how the color pulled in some areas. Very good. Okay, then we have this one. This one had a little bit of texture. I think it's not as smooth. Overall, it's okay, I suppose, but have a look. I think it worked better on this one. Now here we have the drawing paper. I love to use this paper for my eco prints, and it worked well on this one as well. Although I'll probably go back and do some more work on this one, add a few more colors and experiment until they're ready. I don't like to have that much white. Okay, this is another sketchbook as well that I had. This one is 135 GSM. It also worked all right, I guess. It is a little bit fuzzy though. And then we have this one. And here I used a good quality marbling paper. It is really, really good. Lots of definition, especially with the darker colors. And yeah, I'm very happy with this one. Now this is paper that's for Ebru, which is also a marbling technique. Although I used the wrong color. I used orange on top of this yellowish paper, so you can't really see, but I think it worked well. I can see from where I'm looking, it looks good. It's just that the color is too similar to the background color. Now here we use the envelope, and we've done the Barbara's technique where we would bring the paper to the bubbles. And I really like how this envelope turned out. This is a mess. Really, this paper is too thin and too absorbent for this technique, so I wouldn't recommend. It's probably about 60 GSM, and yeah, I don't know, didn't turn out that well. And this one as well looks better on this side though. Yeah, these notebook papers tend to be really thin, and sometimes even these lines can, you know, disappear or bleed through to the other side or something. I don't know. I've tried it, but you know, I wouldn't do it again. So in conclusion, I think it works really well on envelopes. It works well on marbling paper, sketchbook papers, drawing papers, that sort of thing. Watercolor papers, I would probably, you know, it worked well on this one, but I wouldn't waste watercolor papers on that. Deli paper, not so good. Can be done on black paper if you use white ink. Tracing paper gives really interesting results, and just ordinary copy papers and papers for digital printing are just fine. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I had so much fun, and I'm definitely going to be working more on these papers. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope I see you soon in my next video. Bye for now.